Hello, I'm Trey Savage with NonDoc.com. We've got our Ward 5 Oklahoma City Council debate starting in about 8 minutes. It'll be 5:30. We'll get started. We've got the candidates set up. They're backstage getting ready. Go ahead and share this feed on your Facebook. We're testing just to make sure we've got the audio right for the stream. But again, we'll start at 5:30. I want to give a special thank you to the Urban Land Institute of Oklahoma, our financial sponsor for our 2023 Municipal Debate Series. You can still make it down here to OCCC 7777 South May Avenue. Otherwise, we'll see you at 5:30 on this live stream. Thanks so much. Hello and welcome to the Southside Showdown, a primary election seeking to represent an open seat on the Oklahoma City Council, Ward 5, which covers about 85,000 people who live south of Southwest 59th, west of Santa Fe Avenue, and east of I-44. Tonight's debate features Audra Beasley, Matt Hinkle, Toon Nguyen, and Jeff Owen. We'll introduce them all in just a second. My name is Trace Savage. I'm the editor-in-chief of NonDoc.com. We're an independent journalism publication here in Oklahoma City. We love to have public debates, and I'm here to moderate this debate at the beautiful VPAC Center is what they call it, on the campus of the Oklahoma City Community College. That's the Visual and Performing Arts Center. Thank you so much, OCCC, for having us here and making public debates possible. This debate is streaming, I hope, on Facebook and YouTube. We've been practicing this for several hours, and it seems to be we're good to go. Thank you so much for the Oklahoman for being here tonight. They're a partner in this as well, and we'll lead up fact-checking efforts if any of the candidates decide to lie to us. So we'll catch you. Don't do it. We are incredibly grateful again to be here at OCCC, and we are really grateful also for our financial sponsor of NonDoc's 2023 Municipal Debate Series, the Urban Land Institute of Oklahoma. Give them a round of applause real quick. ULI Oklahoma is a member-based organization focused on shaping the future of the built environment and causing transformative impact in communities all across the world. Thank you again, ULI, for supporting this series. We've got another debate next week scheduled for Ward 6 at the Yale Theater. We'll talk about that at the end. Since we are in public, please silence your cell phones, but as you're doing that, consider sharing that NonDoc Facebook feed. Go to NonDoc on Facebook or go to our YouTube page. Just search NonDoc. Share that with folks. We're also on Twitter. I believe we've got that up. I'll hit share myself when we do opening statements. Let me also say this to the audience. Thank you so much for being here. However, please limit your applause to after each round of questions. We'll have 3 rounds of questions. That'll help us get through this faster and make sure everybody watching at home can hear what's going on. With that, one reminder, we do have an officer from OCCC in the audience. If someone's really rowdy and won't be quiet and wants to be rude, they can go be rude on the sidewalk outside. That'll be perfect, and we can get them out of here. So I don't think we'll have that problem. Let me talk about the format tonight. Each candidate's going to have a 90-second opening statement. We'll also have 90-second closing statements for the candidates at the end of the night. In between that, we'll have 3 rounds of questions where each candidate will get 60 seconds to answer each question. We drew some numbers back there. Thank you guys so much for being on time. That's a great start if you're a politician, to show up on time. Ms. Beasley, you'll go first, followed by Mr. Owen, Mr. Nguyen, and Mr. Hinkle. Without further ado, Ms. Beasley, the stage is yours, 90 seconds opening statement.
I am Audra Beasley, and I have been married to Ty Beasley for 23 years, and we have 3 children that attend John Rex Charter Maps for Kids project. And one is in middle school, and the other 2 are in elementary school. I graduated from OCCC here in 2005 with honors, and I'm a Phi Theta Kappa member. And I went on to UCO, where I received a political science degree. I'm a paralegal, and I own a small business and have for 20 years. And I'm a disability rights and child advocate. I had a governor appointed position on the Interagency Coordinating Council that serves Sooner Start. And I'm the chair of the Oklahoma Children's Hospital OU Health, and have been for 4 years. I've been working with the state legislature on Max's law, and I was here at 4 o'clock today to help this very building find accommodations for an adult-sized changing table. I want to be city councilwoman, and I'm a 5th generation South Oklahoma City resident. And I believe there's a lot of barriers that we need to remove in this city so that all can have a happy and healthy life.
Thank you so much. Mr. Owen, the next 90-second opening statement is to you. Ben, he's on the end, just as you pan your camera. Thank you.
Okay, so who am I and why am I running? Why should you be concerned about that? Well, first of all, my name is Jeff Owen. I'm a nurse practitioner, and most importantly, I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I'm also a very conservative individual. And I say that because that's the premise from which I will establish myself as a council member. That's my worldview. And so any questions that come up, agendas that come up, that will be my focus with that. I grew up in Del City. From in a working class family, I learned the importance of hard work, family values, and a belief in God, family, and country. I've got 2 degrees here from Oklahoma City Community College, one in nursing, one in biology. Later, I went to Southwestern Oklahoma State University, got a bachelor degree in nursing, maintained a 4.0 grade point average, was awarded the top RN to BS in graduating in my class. I later on went to earn my nurse practitioner degree from Georgetown University, where I graduated with honors. I'm a military veteran, a family man. I also graduated from the Oklahoma Citizens Police Academy, class 28, and I'm a proud father of an Oklahoma City police officer. I look forward to this evening. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owen. Mr. Wynn, you have the next 90-second opening statement.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Toon Nguyen, running for City Council Ward 5. My mom and I escaped Vietnam when I was 4. We escaped communist Vietnam. We left behind my family to journey on this journey that we don't know whether we're going to have tomorrow or not. However, by the grace of God, with the help of my uncle and Meadowood Baptist Church, we were able to come to the United States. We arrived at Will Rogers Airport January 2nd of 1981 with nothing but the clothes we had on and a suitcase. My mom had worked 3 jobs to support me and save every single penny to reunite our families. 12 years later, we were reunited as a family. Later down the road, we bought a dream home. We built our dream home at Lake Ridge, and we've called South Oklahoma City ever since our home. Shortly after moving in, my father had passed away. So on this journey of trials and tribulations, I've managed to continue my education, have a bachelor's in biochemistry, a master's in biostatistics, and today I want to tell you that I'm a product of the American dream, and I want to give back to the community in which gave myself, my family, the opportunity to thrive. I want to be your next city councilman because I want to give Oklahoma City and connect Oklahoma City to greater Oklahoma City. Thank you.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Mr. Hinkle, 90 seconds to you for your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Matt Hinkle. I'm a businessman and a Southsider and a family man. I've been your planning commissioner for the last 6 years. I've coached your kids in sports and taught your kids to read and raise money for your kids' school projects. I've worked behind the scenes in a lot of projects with Oklahoma City and code rewrites, permitting processes. As being a planning commissioner, I get to see a lot of the new neighborhoods and what goes on in Oklahoma City, and South Oklahoma City is growing as we speak right now, and we need to make sure that it grows wisely. I've spent the last 8 years basically campaigning to be your next city council person and put together a coalition of Southside leaders, politicians, both city, state, and local, and am ready to work hard to make sure that South Oklahoma City gets its fair share, and you're all happy with the neighborhoods, the safety of the neighborhoods, and the services you receive from the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's round of applause real quick for all the opening statements. Thank you very much. If Mr. Wynn, if you could move that mic to your right just a little bit, it'll help get a better view of your face on the camera. So I think that's what we're here for. Let's get to our first round of questions tonight. It's titled, "So You Want to Be Paid $12,000 a Year?" Public service comes with a lot of big bucks, don't you know? That's the salary for the candidates. It's okay to laugh. We can have high energy on a debate for city council, right? Okay, we can do that. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We'll rotate who goes in what order and who goes first, essentially, and we'll start in an alphabetical order. Ms. Beasley, you will answer this first question. The man you all are running to replace is Councilman David Greenwell. He's the longest tenured councilman on the OKC City Council. I'm sure most Ward 5 voters have an opinion one way or another of Councilman Greenwell, so it might be helpful if you compare yourself to the man you seek to succeed. How would you be similar to Mr. Greenwell? How might you be different? Ms. Beasley, 60 seconds.
Councilman Greenwell was very instrumental in helping me get a code or amendment to our building codes. And the last year of my work, he's been very helpful. I do find that he is a very quiet man on the council, and I am not quiet at all. In fact, I'm having to hold our elected officials accountable. And if you'll follow the work that I'm working at the Oklahoma Capitol, you can learn more about that. But I believe in accountability. and that we have policies and procedures, and we have city codes and state statutes and federal laws and regulations that must be followed. And when they are not followed, I'll be a voice.
Perfect. Mr. Hinkle, same question to you. How might you be similar to Councilman Greenwell? How might you be different?
Councilman Greenwell is the one who actually appointed me to the Planning Commission, and we've had many conversations over the economic growth of South Oklahoma City. I agree with Ms. Beasley. He's a very quiet and well-thought individual. We agree on 85, 90% of the things. Some of the things we disagree on are just a matter of theory, I guess. I think he did a great job in representing South Oklahoma City in the last 12 years and would be proud to carry that on.
We've got just 15 more seconds for you. Give me a matter of theory that you might disagree with him on. I mean, I'm curious. I'm a theoretical man.
Well, he voted no on Maps 4, and I understand his reasoning why, but I wouldn't have voted no on Maps 4.
Appreciate it. Mr. Nguyen, same question to you. I think you moved that to your left. Let's move it to the right. And then there we go. You got the stage left, stage right thing. It's all confusing. House left, house right. Same question. How would you be similar to Mr. Greenwell, and how might you be different from the council?
So Councilman Greenwell was a very great person. I've had the honor to meet with him, and he's a very analytical guy, which I actually admire that, and I believe that in my studies and my work, I'm pretty analytical about a lot of things, and I believe, and again, there's a lot of things that I see we are similar, but there are some differences. I do see that MAPS is a great incentive for our city to move forward, and so that's one of the things that I have differences on with him. Another thing is just seeing how our city will move forward on economic development and such. I believe that I agree with him on majority of all that he has done.
Wonderful. Mr. Owen, last but not least, same question to you.
Mr. Greenwell is a well-respected businessman in this community. He served Oklahoma City and the general central Oklahoma area for several decades. He's to be applauded for what he's done and how has had vision to be a pioneer with moving our city forward to make it better for everyone. Like him, I'm a Christian conservative, and I'm running for office to build a better future for our children and grandchildren. I think one of the things that he did that was great was he stood the ground. He held firm to his conservative values, trying to emulate the Oklahoma traditions of family, faith, and community. And I think that I would do the same thing for that, because I don't want to see Oklahoma City turn into a Portland or Seattle of the South.
Let me, 10 seconds each, Mr. Owen, Ms. Beasley. The other two candidates talked about how they would have supported MAPS 4. Councilman Greenwell did not vote for it. Would you have voted for it, yay or nay?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Owen?
I think I would have had some reservations about that. I think there's aspects of it that are good, but I think there's also political aspects of it that I would not agree with. I'd have to sit down. I'm still working to learn the different amounts of money that are going into different things. There are things that I oppose, though.
Yeah, well, the budget is complicated, so that's a matter to everybody to learn about. So, Mr. Hinkle, next question is for you. I want you to answer 3 questions. Really big pressure here. What is the biggest issue specifically facing Ward 5? What is the biggest issue facing OKC as a whole? And imagine I'm a potential voter who's ambivalent about the city council. What are you going to do for me? It's a lot, I know, but.
Every door I knock, the answer is the same. It's the answer to the first question is the homeless. The second question is the homeless. And the third question is the homeless. And what are we going to do with the homeless? And everybody basically has the same response. They want a humane way that they're not in my neighborhood anymore. And so answering how to deal with the homeless, there was a MAPS 4 meeting today where they had a great presentation on how some of that MAPS money is being accumulated to spend on some of the homeless issues. But in all reality, everybody I talk to is their major concern is what are we going to do with the homeless? And I mean, we can talk about roads and we can talk about infrastructure and economic development, but that's really in the forefront of everybody's mind.
I appreciate it. Mr. Wynn, same question to you. Biggest issue for Ward 5, biggest issue for the city as a whole, and what are you going to do for me if I'm a resident of Ward 5?
So same as Matt, in knocking doors, everyone has mentioned homelessness. A second issue that I feel like Ward 5 has experienced is drainage issues, street infrastructure, so we don't have that proper in place. I came across a person that I talked to that is an elderly person that has one car, and that person said, I have nobody else here, but if my car was to break down, I have no access to transportation. Therefore, I would have to recommend that I have to rely on transportation, which our Southside Ward is not properly adequately have right now in place. And so those are the key things. And so homelessness is a key issue in Oklahoma City as well. And so there's many obstacles that we have to talk about on the homelessness.
Appreciate it. Mr. Owen, same question to you. Biggest issue in Ward 5, biggest issue in OKC. What are you going to do for voters?
I'm going to answer those in reverse order, if that's okay.
Sure.
What I'm going to do for Oklahoma City voters is give yourself a sense of confidence in your elected leadership. My goal for Oklahoma City is that we will become the most family-friendly city in America. And with that, there's several things that have to be done. And that goes into the question of the overall sake for Oklahoma City. I think that we cannot be a top 10 city in America when we have problems, civic problems in real time. The biggest problem that I've heard, just like Matt has said and everyone else on the panel has said, is the homeless problem. There's a lot of people that want to put a Band-Aid on that. As a nurse practitioner, I look at individuals from a medical standpoint. I look at them, and that would be my approach, bringing that to the table, looking at it from a different perspective. I'm an outsider coming in, but I'm also a medical professional, and that's how I would approach that. But we cannot be the future city that we want to be, having the homeless problem and not taking care of that in an effective and humane way.
Ms. Beasley, 60 seconds to you, same question.
When I'm knocking on the doors, yes, the homelessness issue is a problem for many people, but there's also MAPS allocation funding for our ward. Beautification project along 240 is brought up quite a bit. Education is brought up a lot. Our parks and how we're building our new parks and restrooms at our parks is an issue. And the potholes along the I-240 corridor are a big issue. Loose dogs on the northern end of this ward has been brought to my attention several times. Our sidewalks and lack of sidewalks on our southern ward. We should have sidewalks connecting our library to our major shopping centers, and there's sidewalks lacking. And as far as on a bigger spectrum, Oklahoma City needs infrastructure, and I will be a huge advocate for accessibility, is that infrastructure needs to be updated, as I have for a lot of issues. But and as far as being accessible to my constituents, you can meet me at Panera Bread at 8:30 on every Wednesday, and I plan to keep those times every Wednesday from 8:30 to 10:30 up here on 104th.
Appreciate it. I like their sandwiches. I'm going to toss up 15
Me
seconds
too.
for anybody who wants to elaborate on what you think we need. How do we solve or address or improve the homelessness problem? Everybody mentioned it. 15 seconds. Ms. Beasley.
It was brought to my attention by a constituent that if we can remove the barrier of having a fee for our homeless population, and where they have to go in and pay money to have their ID replaced. I ran into a gentleman today, and he has $1,200 in his bank account. He's been sleeping out in the cold because he can't access his money. So I've asked the Oklahoma legislature to consider legislation. If we can provide it for our senior citizens, we can provide it for those that are unhoused in this city and state.
Thank you very much. 15 seconds. Anybody else? Mr. Wynn.
So I'd like to propose that homelessness is also a key issue, but it needs to be addressed also not only working with our city, but it takes someone to work with our county, our state, and our federal, because if we want to do the thing right, we need to actually look at affordable housing, number one. Number two, increasing our street outreach team to address the mental health and addiction problems, and helping our challenged homeless population get off the streets and get the proper help that they need.
Thank you very much. 15 seconds. Mr. Owen.
Yes. 90% of homeless in America, and I'm sure Oklahoma City is the same way, 90% of them have mental health issues, also substance abuse issues. So I think the most important thing is collaboration with our police department so that they can enforce the laws that are on the books, and then also intervention so that they can find those individuals who have the substance abuse, who have the mental health issues, so that we can remove them from the situation, get them the treatment that they need, and then from there start working to help them rebuild their lives one step at a time.
Appreciate it, Mr. Hinkle. 15 if you want it.
Affordable access to housing is the key component. And when you get people indoors, then you can start fixing them.
More housing equals less homelessness. That's a novel concept. We may get to that later. Thank you all. Mr. Wynn, next question to you. Is South Oklahoma City, and let's say Ward 5 specifically, receiving what you believe to be a proportional amount of attention and investment as other parts of OKC? Put another way, is the OKC City Council currently doing enough to support all areas of the city equitably?
Not equitably. I believe that, number one, in serving MAPS 4 subcommittee and connectivity, I see that we have 250 bus shelters that we will be replacing. Ward 5, we're only getting 7. Of the street resurfacing projects around Oklahoma City, other wards are getting more resurfacing projects. Ward 5 gets the tail end of Better Streets and Safer Cities enhancement projects. A lot of our infrastructure is in place. We have places where there's drainage problems in areas that is causing a lot more problems that we need to fix. And so with that, it costs us more, ends up costing us more than if we were to equitably be invested equitably invested in all areas of our city.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owen. Same question to you. Is the city council currently doing enough to support all areas of the city equitably?
Absolutely not. Ward 5 has been forgotten by city council for too long. I think anyone that's here that lives in Ward 5 for any amount of time, I've lived in this ward for over 20 years, we have been forgotten. I think a lot of that is because we're an outlying area of Oklahoma City. Part of us is in Cleveland County. Therefore, there may be a mindset that, okay, Cleveland County can help with those areas, things like that. The recent MAPS project, the funding is estimated to be $978 million. If you broke that down for each ward, that's roughly $122 million for our ward, and I venture to say we have not seen anywhere close to that. I would actually advocate for a proportion being allocated to the wards, and then the wards decide with their city council member what priorities they want, and they may want those to go to downtown, but they will have that choice instead of it being taken away from them and ruled by 10 people at city council.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, same question to you.
Ward 5 is a heavily populated ward, and we bring in a lot of money just with our spending here. And to look at the, I'll emulate what Toon Wynn said about our bus stops, that's not equitable at all. And when you look at the beautification, how the I-240 corridor is going to be looked at, well, there's a lot of places around South Oklahoma City that could tolerate some beautification, where we see that in other parts of the city. And the parks, there's a couple of meetings coming up for MAPS 4 Parks and Recreation, and parks are an important part of our city, and I would encourage you all to attend those. But all the money, and I like your idea of allocating certain funds first, and seeing, especially when you're talking about the tax base.
Perfect. Mr. Hinkle, last to you.
I agree with what everybody said. Oklahoma City doesn't get its fair share. I've seen the capital improvement plan over the next 5 years, and we're getting 5 out of 123 road resurfacing projects. 1 or 2 intersections over the next 3 years. We've got roads in far south Oklahoma City that, are dangerous to the neighbors who try to navigate them, that are major connector roads. And we don't get adequate dollars to take care of those things because they're spent elsewhere in the city. And I agree with all 3 of my constituents here that it's time we get our fair share.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We'll go to our last question of this round. Well, kind of last question of this round. It'll go to Mr. Owen first. About 20% of Oklahoma City residents identify as Hispanic or Latinx with the U.S. Census Bureau. What do you know about the Oklahoma City Police Department's current policy regarding immigration enforcement? And where do you believe OKCPD should draw that line regarding reports to the Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency about undocumented individuals?
Well, first and foremost, I am type of individual that I believe in family first. And I believe here in Oklahoma City, we're all a family and we need to take care of our own first. So that being said, I'm opposed to illegal immigration. If someone wants to come to this country, they can do it just like our ancestors did, follow the laws, do it the proper way, because when they come here that way, then we know that they're here to be a part of the American dream, the American opportunity. That being said, my understanding from when I went through the Citizens Police Academy was that the city of Oklahoma City is taking a hands-off approach. They're not actively going out trying to get people to get them to customs agents, that sort of thing. If in the process of intervening with an individual or individuals during their course of work, and it happens to come up that they're an undocumented individual, then the appropriate authorities will be notified for that. But it's not something that they actively go out and do.
Thank you. Ms. Beasley, same. Well, actually, I'm sorry, Mr. was talking about audio. I think we might want to go up just a little bit. Some folks online are asking. Do you believe that's the right approach that the OKCPD has currently, or do you believe there should be a shift to try to report more individuals who get pulled over for a traffic stop? Should they be trying to enforce that more, or do you like the current approach?
No, I think it should be a joint venture, collaborating with Oklahoma City Police Department, also Oklahoma and the surrounding county sheriff's departments, and then also national, state, and national officials. I feel we have the obligation to take care of Oklahoma City first, take care of Oklahoma first, take care of America first.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, 60 seconds to you. Is the OKCPD policy currently where they're not actively asking, immigration status on most encounters? Is that appropriate, or do you think they should be trying to be more aggressive in that manner?
I would have to study up on that policy, but I'm a firm believer that when you have a policy in place, that those policies are to be followed. And so if Oklahoma City Police Department has a policy that they're not following for whatever reason, maybe that we need to look at that and ask ourselves why. I just met today with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and there were some issues there that, have we removed all the barriers for people that are here that would like to take the citizenship test? Are we doing all we can to remove barriers to education, to language, so that they can learn English, so that they can become citizens? And that's my main platform for running for city council, is I'm going to look at all the barriers that are out there. And if we have a policy that's in place with the Oklahoma City Police Department, in which I'm not familiar with, I will tell you that, I would consider them looking at that. And if they're not following their policies, that's not they can't pick and choose their policies, and that's what gets us in a bind at times, isn't it?
Mr. Hinkle, 60 seconds to you. Same question. Is the current OKCPD policy appropriate, or do you think there should be different enforcement?
I have a huge respect for our Hispanic population, which I think numbers in the 300,000 or so range. I think that people who come here illegally should be sent home and punished with the force of the law that is adequate. The people who are here legally worked hard to get here legally. And as far as I'm kind of like Ms. Beasley. I don't know the code that well. I'd have to study on it, but yeah, if the police are not doing their job, then it's time for them to follow policy and do their job.
Well, and just to be clear, I think the policy currently is not to maybe unnecessarily make immigration a question that's asked when they respond to a call that, doesn't necessarily involve a major crime or something like that they otherwise, might find out by looking at identification or something. So I think that's the current policy, is my understanding from the FOP. Okay, Mr. Wynn, same question to you then. Is that an appropriate policy, or do you think that there should be a different policy?
I'd like to reevaluate the policy that we have currently in place. on the city council. However, I am an immigrant, but I came into this country legally. I don't support illegal immigration. However, I do believe, and I really support our Hispanic population of people. They came here. They come here because they are seeking an opportunity and a chance. There are some people that come that are law-abiding citizens that are working, that are paying taxes, that are actually working citizens for Oklahoma City, and therefore they're seeking a way to actually become a part of our Oklahoma City community. They can't really feel that way unless they are, properly treated. And so that's my take on that. But however, if they are non-law abiding citizens, then we need to actually do something and get them to be reported.
I appreciate it. Last question of this round is a hand raised question.
Can I interject? I didn't.
10 seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't interject when I was talking. I was talking about the immigration issue. But as far as the Hispanic community, I'm fully in favor of Hispanics or anyone coming from across the country for a better opportunity. My son-in-law and my granddaughter are both Hispanic. Love them with all my heart.
Appreciate it. Hand raised real quick. If none of the four of you gets more than 50% of the vote on February 14th, there'll be a runoff between the top two candidates. Whether it's with NonDoc or another media outlet, would you stand on a stage again or sit on a stage again and answer questions for that debate?
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Owen? Nope. Okay.
I will be there.
Oh,
yes.
you'll be there. Okay, so all of you will be there. Great. Okay, well, listen, let's give some round of applause to them for the first round of questions. We're just a couple minutes behind, but nothing big. I do want Mr. Hinkle to ask you to kind of swallow that mic just a little bit more. We turned the audio up a little bit more. Ben, keep an eye on that. Our second round tonight is titled The Built Environment. And if you spell built sideways, you find ULI, which is, again, the Urban Land Institute is a sponsor of our debate series. To start this round, we've got a traffic toss-up. So everybody stand up. No, traffic toss-up. Whoever wants to answer, you get 30 seconds. What is the worst and most pressing street, sidewalk, stoplight, or overall transportation infrastructure issue in Ward 5? Mr. Owen?
I-44 and Southwest 104th Street, right there where the new On-Q and the Verizon and Walmart Supercenter is. It is a death trap waiting for a victim.
Okay, other people, 30 seconds. Anybody else? Ms.
Right
Beasley.
now, this South May, this intersection, I know they're fixing it, but that has been terrible for years. And going through there, especially during high traffic times, it's a mess.
Others, what's the worst Ward 5?
Mr. Owen's dead on. That's a death trap.
Okay.
I agree with Ms. Beasley. That intersection at May and May and 89th has been taking a long time. We've come across a lot of drainage issues and a lot of things that it's taking longer to fix and just causing a lot of congestion.
Mr. Hinkle, 5 seconds.
The capital improvement plan, though, has it the 104th and I-44 intersection in line to be fixed in the next couple of years.
Okay, so now you're on the May deal, right?
Well,
We got a winner.
May is horrible. Yeah, let's fix May since the other one's in line.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. My first question of this round is going to go to Mr. Wynn, and we'll go in the same order, Mr. Owen, Ms. Beasley, and Mr. Hinkle. Being in favor of better roads and bridges is a common campaign slogan for politicians across the partisan spectrum. Who wants bad roads? Who wants bad bridges? No one. But some people argue that traffic safety is dramatically improved if we have cities go on what's called a road diet. Which is the concept of repurposing multi-lane roads into two-lane roads to include more bike lanes, sidewalks, things like street parking. Driving down May to get here, I actually took a big loop up to OCCC just to go through the ward a little bit. And the May Avenue right here is pretty big. It's a 5-lane street. There are some sidewalks, but it's a pretty big street. Do you have any interest? Are you familiar with the idea of a road diet? And what is your reaction to that concept in Oklahoma City?
I think if Ward 5 has more of an economic developed areas, shopping center, I can see a retail, a more scaled development happening, and that would definitely be beautiful for our Oklahoma City Ward 5. I really think that it would be a great place. I just don't know that May Avenue is a proper identification for that. I think that I would tend to think that maybe it would work more on, if we're talking bicycle lanes and such, maybe Walker Avenue. because it's not highly condensed with traffic. Because when you look at road diet, you also have to look at the bicycle safety, the safety of the people and safety of the pedestrian walking the streets. And so those are the key things that I think and I look about.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Owen. Same question to you. 60 seconds. You're a nurse practitioner. You've probably asked people to go on a diet. Should the city's streets go on a diet?
Well, I think Oklahoma City is on a diet. Oh, wait a minute. That was under Mayor Cornett.
There you go. Right. In the Taco Bell with the
Sorry
cutout.
about that.
We should have had that for the mayoral debate that we did. That would have been good.
That's right. No, I think that anything we can do to encourage more activity, especially outside for family members, for individuals here in Ward 5 would be beneficial. There are some streets, some major thoroughways that are not conducive for bike lanes. However, there are some areas where the way the city was laid out or the way the construction was laid out, there's actually room that we could either modify that in some way, or if we couldn't do it on the actual street itself, we could do like they do up Northwest Oklahoma City, up Northwest Expressway with the Lake Trail, where they actually have a path for bicycles where they can go, and they've got the freedom to be able to do that. So I think anything we could do to encourage that would be better for the future of Oklahoma City.
Appreciate it. Ms. Beasley, 60 seconds to you. Your reaction to the concept?
I'm all for multi-purpose lanes. You'll find those down South Walker all the way to downtown Oklahoma City. And when I went to the BRT presentation they had and looking at what the future projection of what that might look on our interstates, even for transit, I could imagine one of those on our highway systems. But when you look at where we're putting those bike lanes, it's important. They'd put one right down Sheridan, right in front of John Rex Charter Elementary School, where my kids go to school. And it's not a good idea because our bus car pickup lane lines up there for about 5 blocks. And that doesn't make any sense. It's forcing hundreds of city residents to literally park on bike lanes. And my son was almost hit by a bicyclist when we were getting out of our car. So it is very important that we look at bird's eye view of even looking at where schools are and carpool pickup lines.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hinkle, 60 seconds to you, sir. Same question.
Ward 5 is a very vehicular ward, and spans a large area. And I'm not against bike lanes if they're well placed. I would be more enthused if bike lanes were connected to trails, which connected to other trails, which got you where you needed to go. Because right now we're going to run a bike lane down Southeast 59th Street in that industrial area. And it's going to be semi trucks versus bicycles. And like Ms. Beasley said, you got to be smart about where you put bike lanes. You don't just put them in to say you have a bike lane there. Walker's a great street because it connects to the trail that runs along 36th. And so you can come along Walker and you can get basically anywhere in the city on that trail. Not south of there, but that trail will take you out to Draper and to Hefner and everywhere else.
Appreciate it. Okay, next question, Mr. Owen, you first on your way here to this beautiful facility again at the campus of Oklahoma City Community College. Many of us may have driven down I-240, which is a 6-lane highway loop that spans the south side of OKC. As in many cities around the country, this giant concrete speedway complicates the walkability, bikeability. Is there anything that you think can be done or should be done to make the I-240 intersections with the other major streets safer in South Oklahoma City?
Well, again, I think that the way that 240 is laid out, there's space available to move that about. Trying to think of what I'm saying here, but I'm thinking from the standpoint of pedestrians and also people on bikes. There's plenty of room to where the retail sector is to do that. But as far as slowing things down, just more police presence there, just so the people will be mindful of that. It can be a very dangerous area, especially early in the morning when the sun is coming up and there's dew on the concrete, very slippery. And I think everyone should, obviously maybe even look at slowing down the speed a little bit there. But I think that you would have to be looked at feasibility standpoint, arteries, that sort of thing.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, same question to you. Let's talk about I-240, safety hazards, concerns, the effect on this area.
The I-240, when you come off right over here and you get off on to 240 from you're headed east, that curve there, I always take it too fast, I think, even whenever I'm going slow. And I don't know how we can change that curve. I don't know if anybody else experienced that. And even though it's not in our ward, but that I-35 interchange, when you're coming down 240 eastbound and you're going northbound I-35, I can't tell you how many wrecks I've almost gotten into. That whole system needs to be changed. And I don't know if we need a bigger loop there or what, but if you're not about to run into rear end somebody, someone coming off of I-35 that's about to take the I-240 loop going westbound, they're going to run you over. And just looking at the south during congestion times, the southwest 59th exit, or not the 59th exit, but whenever you're coming 44 and you're taking 40 like you're going out over here, I don't know if we can expand or widen the highway there or whatever, but the congestion during rush hour seems pretty bad too. And
Thank you very much. Mr. Hinkle, same question to you.
The I-240, I-35 interchange, 3 years ago, ODOT came in and we're going to completely redo that. And they got about 25% of the way in the project and left. And it would that's why we have a Texas turnaround at Santa Fe now, is because they were going to close Shields down. 5 years ago, the chamber, and I was a part of this, we tried to start an Envision 240, which was a bid district over 240 to where we could beautify it through, tax financing, incremental financing. And the problem is that there were too many national companies that wouldn't sign on. They weren't against it. They just wouldn't sign on. But we don't even have sidewalks on 240 that connect to 240. I mean, we've got a whole 5 mile stretch there that isn't connected with sidewalks. So there would be a great place to start.
There you go. Mr. Wynn, last but not least, same question.
I feel all of the sentiments from my constituents here. Also, I'd like to add is that our bridge over I-240, that interchange between Penn, that would be a great identifiable potential for biking if we can actually convert that bridge into a bikeable area to actually connect our trails later down the road. But I hear what Matt is saying is like we really need to work on sidewalks extension on the I-240 corridor.
I appreciate it. Let's go to our next question. It goes to you, Ms. Beasley. First, the city budget for public transportation and parking is about $32 million. Is public transportation working the way it should for South Oklahoma City? Or what improvements or ideas do you have that you would want to implement?
$32 million for public transportation is a lot of money, and it's needed. We need the BRT is a really good concept that if we can quickly move people across the city. I've looked at the statistics recently, in fact today, and the number one concern for people is connectivity and more frequent stops. So that would mean more bus drivers, and looking at all of that is very important. We have people in our communities that do not have cars, or they choose public transportation and bicycling and walking over having a vehicle. Some people can't afford a vehicle, and to put our money towards connecting our citizens to the major locations in our city should be a huge priority, and it will be a priority.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hinkle, same question for you.
Public transportation is important in any big city due to the fact, like Ms. Beasley said, there's a lot of people who don't have that ability. Oklahoma City is a large city, and covering it all with public transportation would be very, very expensive. The Embark system as it is now doesn't cover South Oklahoma City as well as it should. And in defense of Embark, the ridership isn't there to justify more bus shelters. That would be something that we would look at and determine how to better serve South Oklahoma City with transit, whether it be smaller buses or, closer stops to each other, going further out to a park and ride kind of thing. There's all kinds of options, but as it is now, we're spending a lot of money on buses.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wynn, same question to you. Is public transit working for South Oklahoma City?
This is my passion. So I've served on the BRT Advisory Stakeholder Board and also the MAPS 4 Subcommittee on Connectivity. And in serving these committees, I find that we have 4 routes to South Oklahoma City, 4 bus routes. 3 of the bus routes will only go not even to OCCC. It only goes to 74th Street right here, the highway. I've had to take the bus once because my car broke down. And I couldn't get from this bus stop. I had to walk 3 miles to my house. There's only one bus stop that goes all the way down to 104th, and that's Santa Fe and Walker. And so what purpose did that serve if there's no ridership right there? Ridership is not able because, number one, we have 3 grocery stores in South Oklahoma City that no one can access. No extension of our bus routes. So, of course, there is no ridership. Number 2, we have a health and wellness center coming in. A MAPS 3 health and wellness center that our seniors will be able to take advantage of, and how are we going to provide transportation to there? So those are the key things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owen. Same question to you.
Tuna, I wouldn't have walked 3 miles. I would have called Uber, but that's
I want to try it out.
I'm not in as good shape as you are. The city is, I think that we need to have a transit system that serves the community, but also serves the community needs. If one person is going to ride at a particular route area, that's obviously not a cost-effective use of the taxpayer dollars. I think that looking at the BRT, their analysis, they're actually looking to expand down. Right now, I believe it only goes as far south as 104th Street. But it's going to go down to 149th Street. It will encapsulate the Senior Wellness Center, but I think we have to be strategic in how we do that. We have to be wise in how we use those resources to make sure that they're being used efficiently to take care of what the needs are. If they're not, then we can readdress that. But if we need to go expand, we can do that as well. But we just have to be mindful and be proactive about that.
Thank you very much. Quick follow-up or hand raiser. Was the OKC streetcar a good investment? Raise your hand. If not, keep your hand down. Okay, so we shouldn't expand it, or should we expand it? Raise your hand, expand. Okay, great. Well, there we go. Let's go to our last question of this round. Mr. Hinkle, you hinted at this earlier. Unbelievable, we're going to ask it of you. If elected to the OKC City Council, you could be faced with voting on a proposed building code called ADU, which stands for accessory dwelling unit. A little housing unit that might rent out the back of your house, right? Or be behind your house, you'd rent it out. Currently constructing that, as my understanding, requires a special zoning permit, a SPUD, but a proposal could make ADUs a right of ownership on R1 residential lots. Some neighborhood leaders oppose this, maybe a not in my backyard concept, but as America deals with a housing crisis, it's hard to argue with the philosophy that more housing equals more people housed. Would you support OKC homeowners having an inherent right to build an ADU on their residential property?
Just like with Tune and Transit, this is right there in my wheelhouse. This is what the Planning Commission does. Infill development in Oklahoma City is crucial to solving part of our housing crisis. There are lots and lots of applications that come in front of the Planning Commission right now for exactly what you're talking about. People maximizing their space and turning their garages into apartments to rent. And I have never been against that. I think that's a great use, adds rooftops, doesn't hurt services. I mean, services are already there. I would be all for that. Growth in Oklahoma City needs to happen wisely and sustainably, and you can't beat infill development when it comes to that.
I appreciate it, Mr. Wynn. Same question to you. Would you support OKC homeowners having an inherent ownership right to do an ADU on their property?
I believe infill development is necessary. I do believe that South Oklahoma City has such a rich neighborhood association. South Oklahoma City has probably the most neighborhood associations of all of Oklahoma City Metro. And I think that whatever neighborhoods that are in place, we need to actually look at our neighborhood association, our HOAs, and think about protecting their zoning codes and protecting their neighborhoods. But however, we have so much more land area in South Oklahoma City that we can identify for infill developments, allowing that to happen and occur in case like there's any kind of tension or anything that comes up. Not only that, I feel like if we do go down that route of approving those, we would need to look at the tenant and landlord protection.
Okay, so that's a no, not an inherent right. Mr. Owen, 60 seconds to you. Same question. Should residential R1 owners have an inherent right to build an ADU on their property?
Well, as individuals who own their property, I think it's incumbent upon our city government to allow them the freedom to use the property in whatever manner they see best for them and their family. I do think that obviously if it's done within the city limits, there have to be guidelines as far as how that looks. I agree with what Toon says. We have a lot of homeowner associations here in Ward 5, and that would actually go back down to individuals in that homeowners association deciding what they want for themselves and all that. But I think that there should be some parameters establishing that quality of life type thing. I don't think anyone should have the freedom to just throw up a tool shed with an air conditioner and then call that a dwelling unit. I think there should be standards that would be maintained, and obviously that would in Oklahoma City because we do stay on top of ordinances like that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Beasley. Same question to you. Inherent right for an ADU? Would you support it?
I am pro property owner rights, and yes, I would support it. We have tiny houses initiatives coming, and I've got 3 boys that might decide to go to college here at OCCC, and I would love to be able to build a little tiny home in my backyard if it allows for it. Maybe they could live out there, or if our aging population, if we want to move in our mothers and fathers or grandparents in a little tiny home in the backyard, or it's building onto our own house, we should have the right to do that. And if you live in a neighborhood association that does not want an ADU, then maybe if you wanted to maybe consider that, maybe a different neighborhood would be best suited for you. But I am pro property owner right.
Thank you very much. That's the end of round 2. Thank you so much. Round of applause. It's a growing audience out there. It's just overflowing in the auditorium. We're going to round 3, which is titled The Political Long Division. Don't worry, it's not about math, but we will discuss how broader political topics shape civic society in Oklahoma City. You'll each have 60 seconds to answer. First, I've got another hand raised. If in some future election cycle, you decide to run for mayor of Oklahoma City, will you participate in a public debate so that voters can hear you answer questions about important topics? Raise your hand if you would participate. That's 2 of you.
Well, I don't plan to.
Yeah, raise your hand if you'd run for mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, you never know how bad things can get. You might have to. Mr. Owen, we've got a first question for you. Let's talk sports. The Oklahoma City Thunder are putting on an exciting product this season, and the City Council will likely consider placing some sort of financial proposal for a new arena in front of voters, possibly by the end of this year. A new arena could cost between $500 million and $1 billion, and public funding of sports arenas is a controversial topic around the country. But the specific details for the new OKC arena proposal have yet to be determined. So tell us, who is your favorite Thunder player first, and then what should this proposal look like? Should the public fit the entire bill for an arena? Should team owners build a private arena for their private use, or should there be some sort of public-private partnership for funding of a new arena?
I plead the fifth on the first question as to who my favorite player is. I don't want to offend anybody, so I love all my Thunder. That being said, I think when we look at an arena situation, obviously we did great with maps getting the arena built. I think a lot of people, I know I felt this way, that if we were building an arena, we should have built it for 25 years in advance so we could capture the biggest sporting events that we could possible, not building it to get a minor league hockey team and all that, because that has obviously, in doing that, has put some constraints on the current state arena. Anyone who knows me knows I'm conservative. I have an iPhone 8. I don't need an iPhone 14. This does everything I need to. And I think when we look at the arena, there's other things that are higher priority, taking care of the streets, taking care of the homeless situation. How can we justify paying for that with all the other social issues that we have going on? I don't think the voters would approve that.
So you're not in favor of a publicly funded arena?
Not at this time. The arena is doing a good enough job right now. We could look at that down the road, but I don't think that is something that's pressing, even though the contract between Oklahoma City and the Thunder ends this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, 60 seconds to you. Same question. What should any proposal look like? Public funding, all of it? Partnership? None?
That building was constructed with MAPS dollars for a hockey team. And I've recently was in a walkthrough of that building. Whenever we, leadership, we found a place for an adult-sized changing table in that building. And I got to do a whole walkthrough and looked at every single restroom in that building. And if we can go in and retrofit that building and bring up some standards and go in and just make it all big and beautiful again, I think that's what we need to do rather than look at building a brand new building. And if we decide that if the owners of the Thunder need a new arena, then I think they have the money to build a new arena. And as far as my favorite Thunder player, they are all my favorites.
There we go.
Good
Okay,
answer.
great. I think somebody had the feed up out there. Just make sure you mute that as we go down the line. Mr. Hinkle, same question to you. Favorite Thunder player? And then what should any proposal for a new arena funding look like?
I'm kind of ready for Poku to get unhurt. He's fun to watch.
There we go. We finally got a decision on a favorite player. There we go.
There is no doubt the notoriety and fame that the Thunder have brought to Oklahoma City and the economic impact that they've had is just, I mean, you can't measure it. The amount of money that comes in every time we have a home game or had a home game pre-COVID. The short answer is, if I'm elected, I would do everything in my power to make sure that the Thunder stays in Oklahoma City. It's an unfair question because you don't know what the deal looks like, who pays for what. Whether, I mean, it can't be all public money. It can't be all private money. Maybe it's some county money and state money and a little bit of everybody's money. But as far as I'm concerned, the Thunder needs to stay as long as it's feasible.
But that is the question, what the deal looks like. So you're saying it should not be all public money. You think there should
No.
be some private investment?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Wynn, same question to you.
Well, I like all my Thunder players, but I think a lot of my favorite ones have gone on and passed. Not no longer with Oklahoma City Thunders anymore. But however, I am very supportive of our Thunder. I really think that it's had a tremendous impact on Oklahoma City and where we're going and how we move our city forward. However, I don't think that at the right time right now, I feel that we need to win a national championship and fill our stadium a little bit more before we can think about that investment dollars. Public money, but I really agree with Matt on that, is like it's going to need some public but private investment as well. So there's got to be some collaboration and some partnerships in the way.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, we're going to go out of order just a little bit. So this question is going to go to you first, and then I'm going to go to Mr. Wynn also. Across America, important conversations about representation have placed more emphasis on what academics might refer to as identity politics, the component of oneself that may appeal to voters based on things like race, gender, or sexual orientation. To that end, Ward 5 voters might see 2 white men on stage tonight and 2 candidates who are not white men in this election. Ms. Beasley, as a woman running for office, what could the city do better to support women, and have you ever experienced sexism on the campaign trail?
I have not experienced sexism on the campaign trail, not by any constituent or any of these great men looking to be a leader. And for women who do experience that on the campaign trail, that's very unfortunate. And I believe that in 2023, we should all have equal representation, that there's no reason or room for discrimination for anybody. And as a disability right advocate and a child advocate, I am very vocal about all having equal access and to be treated equally, especially whenever it's our tax dollars involved.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wynn, 60 seconds to you. Some people may not know that there is a large Vietnamese population that lives in this area. How and why might it be important for the City Council to include an Asian American perspective?
From an Asian American perspective, I would be the very first Asian American city councilman in our city and possibly in our state, if elected. But that has no bearing on the reasoning why I want to run. I really feel that in running, I bring a diverse voice to our council. from seeing different perspectives. And I think that in doing so and in serving in multiple subcommittees and commissions, I'm able to do that. And I want to do that to encourage our younger generation of young Asian Americans to actually speak up, speak out, and be themselves and be a part of our community, because we are loved. We are part of this community, and we belong. And so this is a thing of not just a cultural identity, but actually, and for me, it's a ability to actually show that our young Asian Americans belong, and that we actually have a place and a time to actually sit on leadership.
Appreciate it. Mr. Owen, my question to you is, as a candidate who seeks to represent a wide variety of community members in this ward whose cultures may be slightly different than yours, how do you approach the concept of diversity in Oklahoma City?
Well, Oklahoma City and America as a whole is diverse. Every one of us are immigrants, unless we're first Americans. I'm an immigrant, come from an immigrant family. People came here because they wanted to live the American dream. They wanted an opportunity. They wanted equal opportunity to pursue whatever they deemed as the American dream. And I think that by my being a nurse practitioner, whenever I go in to see a client, I don't look to see what their social status is. I don't look to see what their race is or ethnicity, that sort of thing. It's a patient. They're a client. I go in, I look at them as a person. So, I think the most important thing we can do, any of us can do in society as well as up here, is to be colorblind to that and to look at people for their who they are, their content of their character, their integrity, and judge them according to that, not on what's on the outside.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle, same question to you. How do you approach the concept of diversity in OKC?
I'm a person who doesn't see color, I see character. And it doesn't take very long of being around somebody to know what you're dealing with. Over the last 43 years, I bet I've hired, worked for thousands of people, and it's pretty easy to tell right off the bat what you're dealing with, both on the employee side, the employer side, and the people you're doing the work for. So identity politics, as far as I'm concerned, get left at the door. And don't need to say much more about that.
Sure, Mr. Well, the next question is for you, sir. We just talked identity politics, so let's talk geography politics and power structures. Mr. Hinkle, you are serving on a public body already, the Planning Commission, and you are connected and supported by some influential state lawmakers, local politicians. Some people might view those connections as an insider influence in a world where everyone wants an outsider. But how do you convince people not to be afraid of the proverbial back room where influential people drink whiskey on Fridays and talk politics?
I find that kind of humorous, because the people who are backing me, let's take the Oklahoma City Municipal Contractors Association. That's the people who build our roads. It's good to have a relationship with the people who build our roads. And right next to their name on my endorsement list is Jan Perry, who runs the YWCA. So I can promise you that me and the municipal contractors and Jan Perry aren't sitting in some back room scheming up something where the YWCA gets a new road. Like I said, I've been working for the last 8 years leading up to today, and these friendships that I've made with the business leaders and the politicians, they're endorsing me and supporting me because we're friends. We all have the same vision. We want the best for South Oklahoma City. Not saying that my friends up here don't either, but we want to work hard for South Oklahoma City, and everybody who's involved in my campaign, all 150 of them are on the same page as I am.
I appreciate it. Mr. Wynn, a little different question for you. How do you view the Oklahoma City power structure? Who has influence, who lacks it?
I think it's not about influence, but it's about collaboration and partnerships. I believe that to further Oklahoma City, it shouldn't be the left or the right. I think it's a forward direction. And if we want to move Oklahoma City forward in a forward direction, we got to work together. Just like what Matt said, he has people who endorses him that are on both sides. And so that's what it takes for a great leader, is to be able to bring people that is not normally in the same room with you to the table and have those discussions. And so I really appreciate that.
Mr. Owen, same question to you. How do you view Oklahoma City's power structure? Who has influence? Who maybe lacks it?
Well, I don't think you can be honest with yourself if you look at Oklahoma City or any big city municipality and think that there's no political influence that's there. When former mayors can go into office with very little self-worth, net worth, and leave in the millions, then there's something going on. That's part of the reason that I'm running for this office. I want to bring a sense of ethics and transparency and accountability back to the city council, hold them accountable and stand firm on that. I think that we need to have an ethics commission for city government to make sure that there's no political overreach that goes on. I do not have any affiliations with politicians, business leaders, or the like. My focus is 100% voters. My campaign is funded 100% by voters, and that's going to be my focus moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley. Last to you. Who has power in Oklahoma City? Who lacks it?
Y'all hang on. If you look at House Bill 3015, we asked the state legislature to go in and put in adult-sized changing tables in our tourist facilities, and I had to file an ADA grievance for that because one of our South Oklahoma City legislators decided to kill that bill. If I can file an ADA grievance on a state-owned building, maybe that is an issue that our state legislature should look at, but we have several state legislators in South Oklahoma City that our family, my 6-year-old son sitting back there, Max's law was named after him. Y'all just go look at the history of House Bill 3015. Political influence absolutely does have influence in South Oklahoma City, and I'm subject to that. We all are. We are all subject to the money that politicians pump into campaigns and what motivates them to do so. I'm proud that all of my friends and church members and are supporting me, and I haven't received any donations from any political elected official.
Thank you very much. Last question of the evening goes to Mr. Wynn. First, one of the odd parts of OKC Ward 5 is that much of the district overlaps with more public schools, with the rest of the district being in Oklahoma City public schools. While the OKC City Council does not control education funding, what are the impacts and the solutions to such disproportionate local funding between OKCPS and more public schools? Mr. Wynn, first to you.
So I feel that Oklahoma City public schools have more schools, a wider area to cover, and so the money has to be spread and diverse equally. However, more public schools, I feel that we have a very tight-knit community in our Moore School, and I'm really excited to see that our Moore School Foundation is creating a tiny home community for our youth experiencing homelessness. And I'm really excited to see that project going because it's giving a hand up to our youth that are experiencing homelessness. And I think that if we're going to do anything, we can study from these models and study that in utilization for looking at how we can tackle and solve homelessness issues in the future. I believe that our Oklahoma City Public School children that we have, like we did create a school bond that was just passed recently, but I feel that it's gonna take a little bit of time for Oklahoma City School Board and public schools to catch up to our Moore school system.
Thank you. Mr. Owen, same question to you. What are the impacts and solutions to the disproportionate local funding to those districts?
Well, my wife is a 30-year school teacher in Putnam City. She could probably better answer that question than I do, but I do know that every year she would spend money out of her own pocket for school supplies. I think that every child in Oklahoma City and in this country deserves to have a curriculum that prepares them to be world-class citizens as far as learning the skill sets that are needed for future jobs and career opportunities. As far as the difference between Oklahoma City Public Schools and Moore schools are excellent schools, some of the top in the state. But I think that a lot of that is involvement with the community, involvement with homeowners. Education is an investment. and where you put your money where your priorities are. So I think that the money should go to the students, not the administrations, not the buildings, and that money should be with students, whether they're in a public school, charter school, or another area.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beasley, same question to you. How do we deal with that disproportionate local funding? What's the impact?
That's a big question. My husband's a teacher. He's a special ed teacher for Norman High School. And we see the trickle-down effect of our state not funding our schools appropriately. And that bond issue coming in is going to help us tremendously. The more public schools, you've got overcrowding issues where some kids aren't even allowed or they have to do a lottery for pre-K. And some kids go to pre-K over here and some kids go first grade over here. And we've got moms and dads driving all over So yes, they are really good. More public schools are great. But we also see overcrowding. Oklahoma City Public Schools, we've got the disproportionate funding is we have to look at who's paying those tax dollars. And if I'm an Oklahoma City resident and I've got 3 kids in my school district in Oklahoma City Public Schools, but I'm driving them to a better school every day, it causes issues. And a lot of Oklahoma City residents are applying to go to school at Moore. So it's a lot bigger problem than just disproportionate funding that we have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hinkle, last to you. How do we deal with that issue? What are the impacts of it?
A lot of it has to do with the tax rate paid in Cleveland County and the tax rate paid in Oklahoma County. And the appropriation off the state budget that goes toward education really needs to be looked at as well, because there's a disparity, isn't just in Oklahoma City and more, it's statewide. I mean, we have 77 counties and 350 independent school districts, and I'm pulling numbers here, but
It's more than 500. Our education reporter is keeping time right there. So
there's,
yeah,
so education could be fixed at a state level on down. As far as Oklahoma City and the disparity between the funding there and the funding in Moore, the tax rate in Oklahoma City would need to go up to fund the schools better and start with paying the teachers more.
appreciate it. That's the end of our third round of questions. Great job, everybody. We are going to go to our 90-second closing statements. We're going to go in the same order as before. Ms. Beasley, Mr. Owen, Mr. Wynn, and Mr. Hinkle. Ms. Beasley, 90 seconds to you.
Well, what I left off from my opening statement, I'm a Southern Hills United Methodist member right over here on South Penn. And our boys, my husband's a 3rd generation Eagle Scout, and we're raising 3 4th generation Eagle Scouts. And we take great pride in all of our volunteer work that we do as a family for our community. My platform for City Council is that I will look at every single barrier in every corner of this city that keeps us from a safe and happy and healthy life. I will dive into our infrastructure and accessibility. If I'm a parent and I'm going into the Oklahoma City Convention Center on its first day and I bring an access issue that got the attention of our ADA coordinator for the city, that's a huge problem, and you need my perspective. The disability community is, after women, is the largest minority group in the nation, in the world. There's more disabled people than any other minority group, and they are the most underrepresented. Disability can affect any of us. So sidewalks and bus transportation, accessible buildings, when we build new or renovate old, all will be planned for. I will make sure that every city-owned building has an accessibility page that emulates what the Oklahoma History Center has done. I encourage you all to go look at that. Oklahoma History Center accessibility is the 2nd state-owned building to put in an adult-sized changing table. And if tonight, I thank Oklahoma City Community College. They have made provisions and they've made accommodations for my son. They put a bed back here in case he needs restroom access. And I shouldn't have to go door to door in every single building in our city asking for restroom access for my sweet kid.
Thank you very much. Mr. Owen, 90 seconds to you.
Well, again, as I said earlier, it's important to know that I'm a Christian and I'm conservative. And I say that because when you go to vote, you want to keep things in mind. Your values are who you're going to vote for. But if you put me in that office, in that position, that will be the basis that I will see what we do in Oklahoma City, and I will base it through those eyes. I feel that there are some politicians at city council that are trying to move us away from the core values, the traditions that we've had here in Oklahoma that's made Oklahoma and Oklahoma City such a great place to live and call home. Again, as I said earlier, I do not want to see us turn into a Portland or a Seattle. And I think that there are things in place right now that are starting to skew us in that direction. So I will do everything I can to maintain our Oklahoma traditions. We can embrace our traditions, embrace our past, and also embrace the future to make Oklahoma City a better place for people to live, work, and call home.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done?
That's all right. That's good. Thank you.
Mr. Wynn, 90 seconds to you to close.
So being an immigrant to this country and a small business owner, a citizen of our South Oklahoma City for over 20 years, I've had a very unique perspective in living here. In founding the Asian District Cultural Association and now the Greater Oklahoma City Asian Chamber, I've been a byproduct of this economic development, and it's continuing. In serving as your Urban Design Commissioner, I've protected commercial districts, protected the identities of commercial districts, and I believe these qualifications I don't want to talk about, but it's not the matter of what I've done and how I've done it, but I believe that it's a matter of what can I do for our Oklahoma City Ward and our citizens of Ward 5. And I believe that I'm the better candidate to do this because I can better connect South Oklahoma City to our Oklahoma City, Greater Oklahoma City. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you Trey, ULI, NonDoc, and everyone here. And also my constituents. Thank you so much for having this great conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hinkle. 90 seconds to close us out for the night.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I'm a businessman and a Southsider and a family man, and I've lived in Oklahoma City for the last 36 years, gone to work for the last 43 years at 50th and Shields. So my business is here on the South Side, and my family lives on the South Side, and I support South Side businesses and go to South Side events. I'm going to take a step kind of off here and mention something. First off, I'm very proud to say that I'm endorsed by the Oklahoma City Police Union as well as the Firefighters Union. But a month and a half ago at a city council meeting, and you can watch this on YouTube, we had 3 of our esteemed city councilors get up and walk out on the police contract vote and gutlessly didn't vote. And, you know, leaders lead. I can't stress that enough. And if you don't like it, vote no, but don't get up and walk away. And that would tear me up if that's what Oklahoma City turned into. So once again, I'm not saying that is any of the 4 of us up here. We would all be strong and take the vote, but Oklahoma City needs to stay on the right track. And thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. Let's give everybody a round of applause. That concludes tonight's debate. Thank you to the candidates. Thank you to OCCC, to our debate sponsor, Urban Land Institute of Oklahoma. Remember, Election Day is February 14th. But on February 8th, that's next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m., we have a debate scheduled at the Yale Theater between Ward 6 incumbent Jo Beth Hammond and challenger Merrick Cornett. Ben, you can kill that live feed. I think we're done. We can.